Alrighty.
Alrighty. Here we are.
What's up, everybody?
You want to?
No, you don't want to say it.
You want to?
I didn't even rehearse it. You got the.
You want to? You want to lead today?
You got the. Let me see the questions.
It don't matter what the questions are. You can do the intro, outro, and ask the questions.
No, I'll just do the intro.
No, it's
you do what you're gonna do, and I'll do the intro.
That's not really how it goes, though.
It's okay. Let's just try
it. The person who hosts does the questions. If you're introing and you're the host, then you got to just run the thing. Who says that's got to
be the rules?
That's just the way it goes.
Who says that's the rules? Did you make those rules up? We're playing by your rules.
You can't do the intro and you don't even know what the episode is, and you got to say the intro and everything.
No, I'm gonna just say welcome everybody to another episode. I'm Ray. This is Michael. We about to get under the stone. You know what I mean? Freestyle it, and then you can say, okay, today's topic, blah blah blah. And just
You're messing up the flow though.
Like, no
that's not how
way.
It's not really how it's been.
Okay, we're gonna talk to the people.
What's up, everybody? This is your girl, Michael, and my co-host.
I'm Ray, and today's episode is gonna be money mindset and midlife maturity - financial awareness and values. So
welcome to another episode of Sipping with the Simpkins.
Yes. And what are you sipping on?
I'm having a little latte.
And I'm having, I don't even know what this is. What did I make?
An iced coffee.
Iced coffee.
Yes.
Pretty tasty.
So today we're going to be talking about the T is going to be money, mindset, and midlife maturity.
Mm-hmm.
You ready? Ready, Freddy. Let's get to it.
Do it.
How has our relationship with money changed?
Well, I think as you get older, you start to get more responsible with your money. And it's changed because we have more investments than before, whether that be stocks, insurances, thinking long term. I think a lot of times when you're coming up in the game, everything is short term. You do your taxes so you can keep more money in your pocket. I mean, your mentality changes. I think the further you are with your company or whatever you're doing, entrepreneur-wise, marriage-wise, career-wise, and as you get older, it starts to change. You start to think about the future more. So I think we've gotten pretty mature with that in that regard.
How has it changed?
I just told you, we got more investments, more insurances, more stocks.
Yeah. That's a good question. How has it changed?
How do you think it's changed?
How has our relationship changed with money? From the earlier years, which we've talked about a lot, it's just drastically different. More money, more problems.
Yeah, that's what they say.
That's what people say.
Who said that?
What rapper
said that?
More money, more problems.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Biggie Smalls is the illest.
Carry on. Shucks. I always get these little rapper trivias from time to time. Not always, from time to time. Yeah, so more money, more problems. And then also the more you have, the more you spend. So I agree that now we're just much more mindful in terms of where money is being placed, especially midlife, because I can't believe I'm really saying that. Like, am I really midlife? I'm not really midlife yet, but getting close. And just thinking about the future much more intentionally, you just do things a little bit differently.
For sure.
However, our lifestyle has just changed a bit from the earlier years, and just our opportunities and the things that we do and where we spend our money, how we spend our money.
Let me say this
has
too.
changed.
Let me say this too. And I just talked to somebody about this the other day. In my household growing up, financial literacy wasn't really a thing. It wasn't talked about.
Yeah.
It wasn't discussed on how you should go forward. When you get money, when you make money, how much did you save? It was just get a bank account, have a savings account. That was about the extent of it. So it wasn't until after college, really, that you start even thinking about, or at least for me. Now, I don't speak for all households, but I know in the Black community, it's not talked about very often. right? Financial literacy I'm talking about. If it has in your household growing up, listen, your parents was ahead of it, salute. Good stuff. We're trying to change that now with our son. So it wasn't talked about. So after college, you start really thinking about, okay, what is a 401k?
Yeah.
What does retirement look like? Even though you're not close to retirement, but like, how much should I be investing in my retirement? How much should I be saving? Or do I want to start a business? What is that? So money conversations, I think for us, because we didn't have that sort of specific guidance, we're more in tune now to say, okay, this is what it looks like, and have those conversations with our son. Whether he goes the working for somebody or entrepreneur route, you still got to have some sort of investment, stocks, bonds, IRAs, CDs, something, money market. Like, you got to.
I think that level of investment awareness, knowledge was not so talked about, but it was very clear to me. That's why I'm on the path that I'm in. It was go to college, get a job that has a good pension retirement system. And usually that was like my family or my mom specifically, like usually that's like government jobs, like the stability.
Yeah.
And that's exactly like that blueprint was made for me, and that's exactly what I did, because it was like this good retirement, there was supposed to be this stability, the longevity, healthcare benefits. So I was told that. But even outside of like just not talked about inside of the family, but even in school, like why aren't schools teaching you these things? Like why is that?
I can answer that
like
question.
Algebra, why aren't we learning financial literacy, and why aren't we learning about credit? Like that to me is stuff that is applicable to everyday life, and our school systems kind of missed the mark on that.
Well, I think they didn't, and I'm gonna tell you why. They did from an entrepreneur standpoint, they missed the mark. But the idea that our system in the government wants you to go to school, get an education, and go work for somebody else, right? That's how you put into that Social Security. That's how you put into all of the money that you're supposed to be going back and getting in at the end of retirement stuff. Like, that's a whole system within itself, and it's designed so that we don't think outside of that system. I mean, that's why it's not taught, because they don't want you to be an entrepreneur and think for yourself.
Well, not even just the entrepreneurial side of it. Like you can, without being an entrepreneur, you can still invest in stocks and bonds and buy golds and like all of those things and have a bank account and your credit. Like aside from the entrepreneurial thing, there's still just the financial literacy that they just don't teach in the school systems, which goes back to a conversation that we talked about before, where my son, he's so outside of why am I going to school learning about things that are not all that applicable in my life? Like, when am I going to apply this? I have zero interest in it. And so he's very much a creative, and I'm glad that he is. But, you know, like I recognized that and I appreciated that early on. I just knew that that was my ticket out of where I was at.
I just think there's a bigger issue with it not being taught in the Black community. That's a whole different rabbit hole to go down, but it was designed so that we don't know those type of things. And it's hard when you get outside of the system and you start thinking, being a free thinker and understanding the way money works. I got to play catch up now and really understand 401ks and 6% match, company matches.
Even from the lens of just going to school,
right?
Like you needing to go to school and having to get student loans and then be indebted to the government to pay those student loans back. It was just this whirlwind. So it was very difficult to climb yourself out of that hole. But I mean, you learn, you grow, and
you try to make the best decision you can. And you try to break those generational curses and say, okay, well, the next generation behind us will think differently about money, will teach their children something different about money, and you hope to improve the logic, the thinking, you know, and how those steps unfold. You know, it's
so that's a good segue to the second question. What money lessons do we want our son to carry forward?
I think he should know that money, you have to. Now, listen, what I'm doing now in my life and how I want him to see money is totally different. Again, I followed that path of going to get a job, education, work for somebody else. Even as a CEO, I still have a board and different stuff like that. So I'm still in that same box. He's more of an entrepreneur, free thinker, which means his money situation has to be different. He has to think differently about money. He has to be able to say, How can I have money work for me instead of me working for money? Money needs to work for him when he's sleeping, And so how he views money and how to utilize money as a tool has to be different. And so that's got to be the challenge. It's not like go to work, clock in, get paid. That's the easy way of doing things. How can you make money work for you? And how can you set up a system instead of being an employee in a system? How do you design the foundation? How do you design a system so that the system's going to work whether you participate or not? And that's the thought process. And I think he's got that in some degree because he doesn't want to go work for somebody else and he wants to be an entrepreneur.
That's
He
a
has
whole
to,
generational
yeah, right,
thing.
right. That might be the switch right there.
Absolutely, which is why I encourage and nurture and not in support of you have to go get this traditional job, which you said something that was interesting to me. That's the easy way of doing things, is getting a job. And I think that's what we've been tricked into believing, is that it's the easy way. But really, when you have to report to somebody else, you have to come and go when they tell you to. You take your break when they tell you to. You get paid when they tell you to. You get paid however
system.
much that they want you. They think that your time and efforts are worth. You only get a certain amount of vacations. That's really not easy. At least for me, that's not easy. And they can let you go at any given time. We've been cracked up to believe that's the easy way, but really it's not an easier way.
The reason why I say it's easier is because it's less thought behind it. You don't have to think to know when to go to work and to do. Now you have to learn the job, yeah, but you don't have to think about it. It's much harder to create a business with your own ideas and thoughts behind it.
And the discipline.
You have to be much more creative.
To be able to be
you have to find the know-how to do it. You don't have to think about what the next step is when you're an employee, but when you're a free thinker and you create a business that you're like long-term visionary here, I'm gonna be able to hire more people and create jobs. Yeah. Well, guess what? You're not going to know every single step. And that's the faith you got to have. And that's uncomfortable. And that's not very easy, but it forces you to think outside that box, so to speak. So that's why I say going to work and learning the job, it's all scripted. Here's what you do. Here's how you do it. These are the expectations. But when you don't have that, those guardrails, now it's up to you to figure it out. And that's where it becomes a little bit hard.
And that's the freedom, though. Yeah, but that's the freedom. That's the freedoms that I want him to get, because I feel like, to your earlier point about legacy and just changing the trajectory of things, if we keep conforming and pressuring him to do things the way that we did things, when does that cycle get broken?
Right.
Because things are tough, or because things are tight, or because it's taken a long time to get off the ground. Why aren't we pushing to keep having that tenacity and that push forward and belief that it's going to work out? It just takes time and effort, because it's not easy. You could go get a job working for somebody else. That's also not easy. So which easy do you want, or which difficult do you want to choose? Yeah. And I elect to encourage him to choose the path of his freedom, where he's reporting to himself, he's holding himself accountable, and he's creating this path where his children will have some freedoms that maybe he didn't have and that we weren't able to give him.
It's funny you mentioned that, because I think back now, it took me 26 years from the start of learning retail to get to a CEO position. And I think if you would have told me 26 years ago,
23.
Hey, well, what, 23 years what?
For you to get that.
Well, when
You've
I started,
been here for 3 years.
When you look at 20 plus, 25, 26 years of retail experience to get to this point, if you would have told me that 26 years ago, I might have been like, wow, that's a long time. And it's do I want to put
it? You might have questioned, am I going to do this for 23 years? For 23 years? That's a long time.
Right. So we got to be patient with entrepreneurs out there that are creating things, and they're creatives. You're in an age where you need to be creative, because a lot of jobs were outsourced outside of the US, and we need more free thinkers and entrepreneurs to create jobs, to hire people to improve things. That's a strategy and I don't mean to get off on a side tangent, but just overall, that's got to be a good strategy for us to create more jobs here in the US for people and get back to that.
And not just people, but also our people.
Right.
Our people. Yeah, sure. That's, to me, that's huge. And that would just be that's the legacy.
Supporting
that's
Black
the name
that I want.
Exactly.
Yes, that's super important.
Employing Black
right.
people.
Right.
Yes. And just keeping our network thriving and our people thriving. I think for me, the lessons that I want him to carry forward is the importance of one, credit, because I wasn't aware of that. And when I was in high school or college, my early years,
Oh yeah.
and that was like my financial freedom and independence. Without a job, they was just giving Discover card. Discover card,
Right.
you ought to be ashamed of
They was on
yourself.
campus.
Yes,
Ruthless.
preying on students and just giving credit
Giving us
cards.
cell phones. Remember that?
I don't really remember.
Like they
cell
showed up on
phones.
campus and was giving and was signing people up. People was getting cell phones and stuff. And I'm like,
Yeah, do
some of these
you
people
know
didn't-
what? Speaking of cell phones, like I didn't even have a cell phone until Michael was, when did we move back to Columbus from Dayton? I didn't have a cell phone until probably like 2000 and he was born in probably like 2004. I did not have a cell phone. That's crazy to even think about.
The last 3 years of college I had one. This was I was working for Verizon and I had a free phone. But
Yeah.
I remember when they showed up on campus and I was like, wow. And they was much bigger phones, but I was like, wow, people are getting cell phones. You know?
So I had a very bad credit score. My credit score was like 500 something. That was horrible. And just the value of, or the importance of a credit score, I just didn't even understand. I was so careless, but also that being said, that's how I took care of myself. I didn't call home like, hey, I just had to figure that out on my own. I'm gonna try to watch my words because my dear and lovely mother watched an episode and gave me a little lashing with her tongue about my tongue and told me that I needed to control myself.
That was a good catch because you almost let it out. It was coming.
That's for
I
you,
anticipated
Mom.
The word. It was like, oh, okay.
See, he even knows, like, I can't even help myself. But she called me, texted me, talking about, I'm just want to say, I won't even get into. So that was for you, Mom. I'm watching it. I'm trying to be careful.
She's working on it.
I'm working on it.
But the credit score wasn't.
The credit score was not important. Didn't know much about it. Right. And so what I decided to do is, one, make sure that he has good credit, because somebody told me, you can put your kids, for those of you who don't know, put your kids on your card as an authorized user. Whether or not you give them a card, that's your decision.
Right.
But you can put them on your card as an authorized user, and it'll report to their credit so that they can start building their credit. And I'm excited to say that my son's credit score is like 700 something. And he's not had to be indebted to anybody. And he's just off to a better start than I was. And the freedoms that you have, because it makes such a difference. I remember when I bought my first car that had a Neon. I had a Dodge Neon. I bought that car. And you're so restricted. Like, you don't necessarily want to use credit in that way. I mean, but when I bought my car, I had to, and I walked in and they tell they run your credit and they tell you how much car you're allowed to get. And then you may even have just this certain section of cars or something.
Right.
Now, when you walk into a car dealership, they're like, how can I help you? What do you want? Do you want a glass of champagne? They're like, let me clean this out for you. Do you need a snack? Like, the vibe is just so different from when you have bad credit to when you have good credit. And I'm like, I never want my son to experience the situation where it's humiliating. It's embarrassing when you have that low of a credit score and you don't understand the value of it. People truly treat you differently.
And again, this is the reason for the podcast, is to share these experiences, because if you have young kids out there, you have to teach them to have good credit. You can help them establish good credit by what my wife just said, adding them to your credit card as an authorized user. They benefit from it. It's no harm to you. Be able to have those conversations to teach the next generation coming up that there's a different way to think about money, credit, and what it could afford you, the benefits of it 20 years down the line. It's super important, and I'm glad we were able to climb out of that. I look back now and I'm like, wow, it was some crazy times, man. We had to figure it out. Like, we had to
started from the bottom.
Now we're here. It was
started from the bottom. Now my whole team's here.
Yeah. So we really had to start from the bottom and figure it out. And it was almost like self-education.
We working on the team part though, right?
We working on that.
We're working on the team part.
But nonetheless, there's some chances that we can really switch how we think about money in the Black community. And we need that. We need more of that. We need more people teaching the younger generation on how to be smart with their credit, smart with their money investments and whatnot.
What does security mean to us today?
For me, security means when I'm dead and gone, I'm leaving something behind. And again, something that we're not taught. You got to have insurance. You got to, and I'll give you guys just one aspect of how that generational wealth happens. When people die in other cultures, they leave $1 million policy behind, or they leave some sort of investment behind so that they pass it along. So I didn't grow up like that. I didn't grow up with money being given to me, none of that stuff. So I want to be able to change what that looks like. So when I'm dead and gone, if I perceive you good, Michael, good. You know what I'm saying? And it's important that I have those set up. So that's how I think now. It ain't about me no more because I got more time behind me than I do in front, if that makes sense. So I got to make sure that things are set up so that I can leave something that can kickstart the generational wealth. And I think that's important. I can only be one person, and I know it wasn't in my family. So I got to be the one to try to jumpstart that thing. And if I can't do it while I'm living, set up something business wise where I make a crap ton of money and I can start to do that, I can leave something.
That's a great one. Mine might be a little more selfish than that. Like security, what that security means to me, again, goes back to things that we've talked about on this couch before. I'm a big experiences person, and he and I kind of butt heads about this a lot because experiences aren't as important to him as they are to me. And from my purview, there's a whole world out there that I haven't seen that I want to get to experience and that I want to see. And security to me is the ability to be able to do that, the freedoms to be able to do that. That means that we have enough where we're not indebted to anyone, we can travel, have leisure travel when we want and be able to go and experience and see the world. And that's what security means. Of course, obviously, retirement is important. Legacy is important to make sure that our only son is okay. And then also that hopefully it sets him up where our grandchildren will be good. I'm definitely not thinking about I have more years behind me than I have in front of me. I'm like, I still have this whole life to live that I want to live and I want to experience and I want to do and I want to see and I want to try. And so that's what financial security means to me.
Okay, listen, let us know what your thoughts are. You should be having conversations with your kids, talking about money, talking about investments, talking about legacy, talking about those things that matter. We'd be interested in knowing what conversations you're having with your folks. So drop us a comment. Shout out to those folks. Comment on my post on Facebook and say, hey, I appreciate what y'all talking about.
Thank you.
It really hits home for people.
We also want to engage. Let's keep the interaction going. Like, subscribe, share, comment,
Right.
all of the things. We want to get this channel popping. It took me a lot to get him on this couch to have these conversations. I'm just a chatty person and I always feel like I could be on the talk or something. So this is like my version of the talk.
This is it.
This is it. So I need you to help me get this going. Share, subscribe, interact. Tell us what else you would like to hear from us about. You can ask us questions. Happy to answer
And if you are
engage in that way.
if you're in the profession of some of the stuff we talked about, like investments, you're doing something with investments, you're doing something with stock, you have something. I know one time I was doing credit restoration, and there's people still out there doing credit restoration and whatnot. If you want to come on here, we can make that happen and bridge the gap and share that information with the folks that's watching. So this is definitely an interactive podcast. So whatever we need to do to enlighten our community out there, we will do that. And meanwhile, we'll just continue bringing it from our perspective, and hopefully you guys continue to value what we bring in this space and let us know.
Thanks, everyone. Peace.
Deuces.
Up top.
Up top.